Alright, this will be the first of what'll probably be 3 or 4 powder room renovation videos. This one's going to be a bit more of a demolition video. To get these tiles up, I got a junky old beater chisel and a hammer, and you can see these tiles have had some serious issues in how they were laid. There's absolutely nothing sticking on the back of the tile. They pretty much all just kind of lift right off without any effort. Really, the only thing holding the tiles in place is the grout that holds the tiles to each other. Now, for the tiles that are on the wall that are sort of acting like trim or molding, these are actually holding onto the drywall significantly better than the tiles that were on the floor. You can see it's pulling the drywall off, so these little trim tiles, they were adhering quite well. Really trashed up the drywall, but that's okay because I'm going to put normal trim down anyway. We'll cover that up. Now, one thing I'll probably try avoiding when I lay down a subfloor here is I'm going to try to not line the seams on the subfloor up with the seams on the tile. I don't think that'll provide good structural rigidity. Some of the other things that have to go are the toilet. Conveniently, it does have a shutoff valve, so that's nice. I got to get this sink out of here. You can see there's no shutoff valves, which is very inconvenient, so it goes straight from the copper main pipes right into a smaller copper pipe and then into the sink. I'll update that outlet. I'm going to change that light out, and that's pretty much it. And then the last thing, there's a little bit of subfloor still under the toilet. That's fine, we'll get that out too. Toilet's just held in place with 2 nuts. I didn't film removing that, but I am going to film removing this. Now in the long run, I'm going to put a flexible pipe in there with a shutoff valve, but right now I just need it removed. So I'm just going to cap these 2 pipes so that no water can come out, obviously, and then remove everything. So there's the copper caps I got for these pipes, and they're just going to go straight on top of there. But I'm going to have to cut these pipes out, turn off the water. I got my old license plate that I'm going to use so that I don't burn the back of the cabinet. I got this brass craft pipe cutter, and you can see the water's already being shut off, and then the hot water tank's being shut off. It took a long time for it to stop leaking. I'm assuming the second floor of the house was draining down into here, so it is all stopped now. Now to cut the pipes, I decided to do the hot water side first. No real rhyme or reason to this. It just seemed like it was a bit more convenient to do it this way. So I put the brass craft pipe cutter on, tightened it up, turned it around a few times, retightened it every 1 or 2 turns around the copper pipe, and just sort of kept going. I did have some paper towel in place because I wasn't sure if there was a bunch of standing water in the pipe still, and I didn't want that leaking down into the basement. Obviously, I don't really care about the cabinet because I'm going to throw this all into the garbage. It's definitely way past its prime here. And you can see that there was a bit of water in the pipe, but not very much. It's not under pressure, it's just the water that remained in the pipe above the cut. Even though the copper cap is new, I'm going to take the wire brush and scuff it up prior to installing it, and then obviously I've got to clean that pipe up because it's super corroded. And I also get in there with some abrasive pad just to scuff it up a little bit more. Now I picked up this 4-in-1 wire brush to scuff the pipes up. It is a little bit restricted in this area, so I got to kind of go back and forth. I can't just go in one direction, so it would have been good to have something a little smaller. Next time when I do the shutoff valves, I'll get something a little smaller that can work in this tighter space a little bit better. But it does do a good job, and then I come back in there with the abrasive pad as well and clean it up. So I end up actually cutting this pipe again, because one thing you can't see in this video is that there's a ball of solder on the back side of the pipe right at the top, so you can see me kind of discovering it there. It is pretty stuck on there, and even using the abrasive pad and that wire brush and trying to pick it off, I couldn't do it, and I didn't want to have that ball of solder on the back side of this thing creating a potential spot for a leak. So I do cut the pipe down a little bit more. The one big takeaway I got here is if you can't see the pipe, get a mirror or work your hands back there and just feel everywhere. So you can see there's that small lump of solder on there, and that probably would have messed up my day had I not caught that. Anyway, after I cut it, I cleaned it up again, used the wire brush, used the abrasive pad, And this is just regular flux, it's not tinning flux. So I put the flux on both surfaces. This is the cap, obviously. And I also apply a thin layer of flux onto the newly cleaned pipe. And this is Burns-O-Matic plumbing flux. Nothing fancy, it came with the torch. Alright, now that the flux is on both surfaces, I will cap the pipe and get ready to do some soldering. So I got about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch of the solder rolled out, and I was using the torch to heat up the upper end of the cap that I'm putting on. This is actually the 3rd time I've done soldering. I did 2 practice runs and they turn out much better than this one. This one's effective in that there's no water coming out, but I do make a bit of a mess of the solder, so I'm not too pleased with this one. The next one comes out a little bit cleaner. Definitely they do prevent water from leaking out, but you can see I got a big drip there and another big drip. Not too pleased with how that went down, but I am going to cut this off again, and I will get a chance at redemption when I put the shutoff valves in. So the cold water side is a little bit more constrained for space, which is why I did the hot water side first. And like I said, big ugly ball of solder on that hot water pipe, but whatever, I'll get over it. Now, just like the hot water pipe, put the pipe cutter on, turn it, tighten it, turn it, tighten it until the pipe gets cut. I cut this one a little bit lower just to keep it away from the drain pipe because I didn't want to melt it. And just like the other one, I kind of take the license plate and jam it in there. And just to prevent overheating on the hot water pipe, I just threw a big chunk of damp paper towel on it so it didn't cause any solder to melt if I was getting the torch kind of pointed in that direction. One thing I did that I would recommend if you're going to try soldering for the first time, just get a few of these extra end caps. They're like 42 cents Canadian, so they're dirt cheap. And then a couple pieces of pipe, and then practice doing the caps and just build up your confidence on things that are not going to leak water. So just take the pipe, take a few fittings, and do some practice runs with just some of the cheaper material. Obviously, I wouldn't do that with $10 shutoff valves as a practice. I wouldn't recommend trying to do this live the first time that you have to do it. I got a little bit more experience doing PEX in my previous houses in Edmonton, so I've never had to do copper pipe before, but honestly, it's not too bad. I do make a mess here, but in the end, they are not leaking, so I guess small victory. Now, I didn't show it, but just like the hot water pipe, I used the brush to clean them up. I used an abrasive pad after that, then applied the flux to both surfaces, put them together, and then heated the upper end of the cap up and used about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch of the solder. I went with a slightly lower flame on this one, and it was a little bit easier. Definitely working underneath the sink in a confined space made the soldering a little bit more difficult, so like I said, it's a good idea to practice in an open area and just get a little bit more confident for the first time you do it. So a little bit of a run there. What are you going to do? So because you can't really see the back side of these pipes, it is important to get in there and just make sure that the solder went all the way around and that there's no breaks in the solder. Once the pipes were capped off, I turned the water back on and just smashed that vanity out of there. No problem. You can see there's a couple holes from the mirror. I put in a utility light just so I could paint around a little bit easier. I got to clean up the wall behind the sink. I've already changed out the plug-in, and then it's time to paint. I'm not going to make a painting video because I think I got enough painting videos already. I will do a bit of a project update here shortly. Anyway, thanks for checking out my video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.